Hello, technical writing class. This video is going to be about charts and graphs and what we can do to make them better. So in this slideshow, this PowerPoint, we're going to go over some graphics review issues and some new ideas. So some important points to remember about graphics and why to clarify or make readable through text and image and new chart types in Excel. So reading graphics is the main point of graphics. It's that it combines text with images that give us information in new and interesting ways. So the point of the graphic is to be able to read along, to follow along, and to get the ideas the presenter is trying to portray, not just to show the information or to fulfill a qualification of slapping a chart or graph into an assignment, such as technical communication. So make sure you're saying something deeper than here's some numbers or here's a chart, here's a graph. Make the fonts and slices readable so that I can actually follow the information and find some interest in it. Okay, so I see what you're trying to do here. That looks great. How to make a bad pie chart. So it's very easy to make a bad pie chart. It's easy to make a bad table. Mostly with tables, they're poorly labeled, not aligned perfectly, and not labeled underneath with enough information for me to know what you're trying to say with that table. So a bad habit with a pie chart is to clutter it. You clutter it so that the person who did this, the offender, ran out of colors for some countries like the UK, Iceland, and Italy and had to start recycling them. Just looks terrible. So I'm trying to struggle through reading what they're trying to say. Origins of food consumed in the U.S. by value 2007 based on the farm gate value of unprocessed foods. Not enough information in the chart, maybe in the text that we're reading and it refers to the chart, but still I would argue it's just a chart. So there's a need for us to read the pie chart. This text is easy to read. Even the text that shows 1% in more than one area stands out because the 3D version of this pie chart. So use white and black ink on dark and very light colors or white colors. So use black on white, use white on dark. Be thoughtful about the reader and their need to information that you're trying to present. So they're trying to get that you're saying in 2014, the net generation of energy source is from these different areas. And I can clearly see, look, coal, natural gas, nuclear. I didn't really realize that solar was 1%. That's pretty sad. I would think we'd be farther ahead with hydropower. So I'm kind of like drawing conclusions while I'm looking at this pie chart because it's done in a way that I can so clearly read it that I'm actually interacting and engaging with the chart itself. So the way to do this is another way is to stand out pie sections. So what they did was they separated out in 3D, and what I'm talking about is to stand out the pie sections, fonts, colors. So I'm going to talk about the good and the bad in this one chart. So what it does well is it divides out a smaller section into another pie chart. So in this blue section, light blue, it separates it out so it doesn't give you 8 million tiny things in there. Percent as a toolbar, percent as in a soap. This is all bars, chocolate bars, bar charts, toolbar, so status bar. So what this does well is it divides it out. What it doesn't do well is that the font is hard to read and it's too small, and it's all black font. So there's dark on dark colors with font. Compare the font I'm using, which is this black on white, with this. So there's no reason to put on this dark red the percent as in pub to 20% as a bar, as in pub. So yeah, it's as in legal stuff, the bar. So make sure that your font and your chart look great. So if you take the extra step to make a standout pie chart like they did in this one, make sure that we can read it a little bit better. So a little humor to lighten the lesson. Time spent when you can't sleep, trying to fall asleep, or calculating the exact amount of sleep you'll get if you fall asleep right this second. And the foundation of any relationship, liking the same things and hating the same things. So the black and white chart visual works well. At a glance, we can get the meaning that the graph maker is trying to portray. Many of us bond over things we dislike. While on the subject, avoid any fluorescent colors, very fluorescent colors, harsh reds and oranges. Consider the eye of the beholder. No one wants to see red like this, or blue for that matter. It's a bright, horrible contrast that hurts the eyes, and the font is too small. So we're straining to go blind. We're straining to read, and then we're going blind in the process. So comparisons are more interesting. So they're showing two different charts, how women choose shampoo and how men choose shampoo. Men choose shampoo, clearly how it says shampoo. Women choose shampoo based on a myriad of different things, mostly evenly balanced. So consider adding a chart or separating out information to add another contrasting chart instead of cramming all the information into one chart, graph, or table. More than one chart makes you look thoughtful and skilled at separating info and making your reader think. Use images instead of bars. So using images instead of bars adds a positive element, especially this image where you can see not only the bullets, but the flags, which makes following along easier on the eyes and represents how we actually read. And note that all of the countries are still labeled. All of the information, even the parenthetical information, is really easy to read. And they didn't make it skewed or sideways or the font morphed in a tiny way. So be careful when you're moving charts and graphs that you don't squeeze them together to make them fit the page better. They don't need to fit the page better. Just use white space better. So images combined with bars. Another example of using images and combining them with bars, allowing the reader to follow along without the rightmost legend. So the rightmost legend is the Gen Z color lineup in the first graph. So it's Gen Z, Gen Y, Gen X, baby boomers, silent Gen. Like, okay, I'm not really sure what they're trying to say here. I guess that's what they are, because the information is incorporated into the chart visually with a graphic, as in people, and a label. So it's improved when we have these people like Generation Z, Generation Y, Generation X, baby boomers, and the silent generation. So I can tell exactly what they're talking about, and I don't have to look elsewhere for the information in sort of a key, a map key. So that's colors on the side. It's simpler and it's more what we're. So clear, readable, appealing to look at. Make sure that you're looking at your charts, graphs, and tables like a stranger, meaning you're considering the person who is trying to understand your graphics, not just whether you've said what you meant to. Really important for you to look at charts and graphs and try to replicate what they've done when you feel they've done a good job instead of just making one and going with it. So you can tweak your own to make them look better. So, hey, that looks amazing as a nice addition to I see your point. So I can see your point, but then I can say, wow, got skills. So there's many ways to show the same info. So look at this bar and bubble chart showing the cumulative profit by year. So cumulative profit by year in the first is a standard chart. Okay, I get it. The numbers are sideways on the sides, and there's cumulative profit on the left side, sideways. So there's two sideways pieces of information, the cumulative profit and numbers. And so what I would ask you is to look at it, the cumulative profit by year. You can see how they put the years at the bottom sideways, but all of the numbers are in the correct fashion, and the bubbles are kind of showing where we're at. So why you might make this graphic choice is because you really want to be able to have your your viewer just follow along by looking at it. Oh, okay, so the profit by year is going up. It looks clear to the year. The first is a standard bar graph, but the second one is doing a little bit more work, I would argue. So what's new in charts and graphs? Excel 2016, new charts, and some of these are earlier 2010. So the biggest complaint about Excel in recent years has been, this is from the officewatch.com, a 2015 article. So the biggest complaint about Excel in recent years has been the lack of innovation in charts. There's many interesting, useful charting options available in other software and web services. For old Excel's charts are looking tired. So Excel 2016 changes come with 6 new chart formats. So they're the first really exciting things to be seen in Office 2016, to be using Microsoft's overused term, exciting. You can find 5 of them on the Insert Chart ribbon or the All Charts dialog. Tree map, sunburst, box, and whisker, waterfall, and histogram. So we're not going to look at all these. But it's important for you to know that times are changing, and so we represent information visually for our readers in many different ways. So visual representation of data is one of the most important ideas that students can take into the working world. So don't neglect the description of the data, but make it easier for them to recall the data and understand it by adding more visuals. So the waterfall. So the waterfall is good for showing above and below the line results. So what is doing well and what is not doing well. So the increase and decrease are clearly shown. And that's great because we can completely see the gross revenue and we can see the net revenue, and then we can see where we're starting to lose some money. It's really easy to follow along and to read. So there's another chart graph type. But what I want to first talk about is the waterfall chart with Contextures. Contextures it's a simple, slower tutorial for charts and graphs. Okay, so Contextures or lynda.com, the Contextures graphic shows how simple the instructional videos are. So if you're a total newbie to graphic representation of data sets, it's not a problem. Just follow along and choose the ones that you need from the ones that you can see here or any of the other ones. Lynda also has the same sorts of tutorials. The Pareto chart is the last one that I'm going to really go into. So this is named after Wilfred Pareto. It's a type of chart that contains bars and a line graph. So individual values are represented descending order by bars, and the cumulative total is represented on the line that goes up. So reasons for lateness, traffic, childcare, public transport, weather, overslept, emergency. So that's how many excuses, and that's the type and how many people made up particular excuses. The Pareto chart is a bar graph. The lengths of the bars represent frequency or cost, time, or money, and are arranged with the longest bars on the left and the shortest to the right. In this way, a chart visually depicts which situations are more significant. When do we use it? When analyzing data about the frequency of problems or causes in a process. When there are many problems or causes and you want to focus on the most significant. So when analyzing broad causes by looking at their specific components, or when communicating with others. So here's another Pareto histogram. So here's another Pareto histogram and a web address on YouTube that you can go to visit this and to learn more information. So this is U.S. states by population. All the different states going down to the lowest. I don't even think Alaska is on there. I see Alabama and Arkansas, but no. So we don't really make it. So somehow that's 100%.